Our favourite time of the week to talk to our favourite person in the world, none other than the wonderful Megyn Kelly, joining us now from the United States, where I think it's still minus 420. How have you gone in the blizzard conditions of the past couple of days?
It is so cold, and there is a fresh 2 feet of snow out there. But having grown up in Syracuse, New York, we just refer to this as winter.
Now, let's talk about the obvious here, which is the shooting of this bloke in Minnesota. Now, to me, it seems pretty obvious that once somebody is down and theoretically the gun goes, then the danger falls. However, why does he have the loaded gun with the 2 magazines? He has a history of getting right up in the face. I heard your show today where previously he had plenty of physical confrontations with ICE. He was part of a movement which is about trying to not just protest but destabilise them. So again, the president seems to now be in the position of, let's have a look at this. Where are you?
I'm 100% on the side of Border Patrol. I think it was a clean shoot. I don't think it was something they would do again if they had it to do over. I think it was an erroneous defense of others, which is a legitimate defense under the law to any sort of murder claim or whatever these leftists are hurling at them. In other words, he had an altercation with them. He got in the middle of a law enforcement operation, inserted himself. It wasn't the first time. He had a confrontation with cops, with law enforcement, enforcing the border about a week ago. 5 immigration enforcement assistants or officers back then. And he broke a rib. So aggressive was he in interacting with them. So he learned, or should have, that you don't do that. You and I know this just by sitting at our desks. Anybody with common sense knows you don't put yourself in between any sort of law enforcement officer and the target of their arrest or their interest, or you're taking your own life in your hands, which is exactly what he did. And now he did it again, which was very, very, very stupid. And especially when you know you're carrying, because if the officer finds the gun, then his reasonable fear of you is going to go up, which is bad. That's powder keg. Not to say that you can shoot any armed citizen, because we have a Second Amendment here, but if you're going out there knowing you're going to interfere with law enforcement and you're carrying, you really are playing with fire, because their reasonable fear for their safety under the law is grounds for them to potentially shoot you if you have an altercation. And they did have one. Unfortunately for this guy, he had one. He inserted himself again. He put hands on the law enforcement officer, which is considered an assault. It's a felony under our laws. Then they went to arrest him. Then he resisted arrest, which was very, very stupid. All the cops zeroed in on him. Border Patrol. They are law enforcement officers. And you heard somebody yell, gun, 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 which is what they do when they spot a perp with a gun on him. And what appears to have happened, though the investigation is underway, is one of the officers removed the gun from the back of his pants, and it either went off or it didn't. It's unclear where that first shot happened, but it's kind of irrelevant. Clearly, the other officers misunderstood that the guy had the gun and fired it, and then they fired. No, they don't just run around murdering people, notwithstanding what these loons on the left say. They obviously thought that they were defending themselves or others. They heard gun, 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 and it looked like that guy's gun, now in the hands of the law enforcement officer who was walking away, it looked like it fired. And apparently it's been known to fire spontaneously, this particular weapon. So it's possible that that's what happened. It's possible that the cop inadvertently fired it. We don't know. But you do not see a single Border Patrol officer fire their gun or even pull their gun out until you hear the one say, gun, gun, gun. So they were not looking to shoot this man. They were scared. They thought he was going to shoot them. And it appears to have been erroneous, but that does not vitiate their self-defense claim, which only requires them to be in reasonable fear for their own safety. And being told gun, 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 and then hearing a gun go off will do it 10 times out of 10.
So important for all of the detail, because again, these matters, automatically everyone off to their corners, everyone screaming from their corners. The absolute reality here is that if you believe some people who've already been at 11 about, the totalitarian state, the authority, they want to carry on as if this was some sort of, gang killing, right? Like a scene from that movie American History X where somebody's put down.
They're calling it a murder. Yeah,
and you're going, now, obviously there is, split-second decisions made by people who are on the ground. That's not the president. That's not the governor. That's not the police chief. It's not us. So the idea that people automatically that momentary decision, justified or otherwise, then instantly becomes proof about the Trump administration. And this is the problem for the left. They have been at 11 for 10 years. They have got nowhere else to go. And even if the wolf turns up, they've been crying wolf for too long that no one believes them.
I mean, no one on our side, the side of sanity.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, their lies are working because President Trump's numbers on immigration enforcement are going down precipitously. So what's happening now is that these leftists have dialed it up to 11. They lie. I mean, just lie through their teeth. Today, we played a clip of Whoopi Goldberg on The View saying they just shot a man. He just was holding his phone and a bottle of water, and they shot him 10 times.
They murdered a man. He is standing, he has his phone, and he has a bottle of water. And they shot him 10 times. What the? I don't know what you're investigating if you're not investigating the straight up murder.
What a lie. They weren't bothering him. They wanted nothing to do with him. He was a known ICE agitator. His family had been worried about his ICE agitation, saying, don't get in between anything. And he did it not once, but twice, both times with 5 officers getting all over him. He had his little phone. He clearly wanted to get a viral video, and he got it at risk of his own life, and ultimately it cost him his life. I mean, that's what we call assumption of the risk in the law. He did it. As I said on my show, the reason I am not shot by ICE right now is because I sat in my studio this weekend and I minded my own business. I did not go out there in between a cop and the person who was antagonizing him, who was a fellow ICE agitator, like this guy did. That was very stupid. It was reckless. And look, you know, these guys, they're like wannabe cops in a way. They hate law enforcement so much, but they want to be them. They have their little group on Signal where they coordinate where their target is. Oh, let's all get there. Let's tail them, get reinforcements. They harass them when they're trying to sleep at night. They encircle them when they're trying to conduct their operations. To arrest criminal child molesters, they get up into the face of ICE, they blow the whistles, which is really a form of torture, to just blow those whistles all day long. It's mind-numbing, and it's how are they supposed to know up from down when these whistles are constantly blowing in their ears? And then if they make a mistake, it's murderer, murderer. I think what actually happened here is what we call in the law imperfect defense of others, where you think you're defending your fellow cops and or yourself, but it's an imperfect defense because, in fact, there was no such deadly threat your way. If it's a sincere threat and a reasonable threat, you're off the hook. So the left doesn't want to hear about that because they just want to demonize ICE and Border Patrol and say they're evil because they want them out. And it's working. That's what's bothering me, is the press, of course, is not skeptical of that narrative at all. They shovel it down the throats of Americans sitting at home who are too lazy to check out the truth, and also very, very susceptible to you're a bad person if you think that this was anything other than a murder. Don't you have a heart? Aren't you a Christian? Can't you see this guy was on the ground, on his stomach, and they shot him in the back? You're an inhuman, as opposed to actually trying to put yourself in the shoes of the cop and understand they have a split second to make a decision on how they save the lives of those around them, never mind their own lives.